Hi there, this is going to be a video tutorial on travel fees. Our system supports travel fees based on city, zip code, or by the mile. So let's take a look at cities first, and we're going to do that under Admin, Order Config, Service Areas. Now this tutorial assumes that you have already set up your service areas. The service areas video goes into more detail on this, but just for a brief recap, the cities that are listed in this list here and the states that are listed here populate to the city and state drop-down menus that show up during the ordering process. So if that drop-down menu has any unnecessary entries, I encourage you to watch the service areas video to clean up your service areas a bit before you set up your travel fees. And you can access the service areas video by clicking on the floating help icon for the knowledge base. So once you've gotten your service areas squared away, we can go ahead and set our travel fees by city here in this area. So I'm going to go ahead and enter spreadsheet mode so that I can make edits from this screen rather than having to click into each individual entry. And if you don't see travel fee on this screen, remember you can click customize to make it show up in here. And remember, you can always do that in any part of the system. So setting a travel fee by city is pretty intuitive. You simply click into the city that you'd like to assign the travel fee to and enter in the dollar amount you'd like to charge for that city. So then let's go ahead and go through a test order and get all the way to the payment screen where we can see our travel fee being applied. So that's how we do travel fee by city. Let's look at how we do travel fee by zip codes. And it's important to keep in mind that if you have travel fees listed at the city level and also the zip code level, the zip code will override the city setting. So for example, in this case, Albuquerque has many zip codes. So if I wanted to, I could apply a different travel fee to a particular zip code or set of zip codes in Albuquerque, and that will override the city-based travel fee. So let's take a look at that by clicking into zip codes. So I'm going to reorder these entries by city, and that's going to make it easier to find the zip code I'm looking for. So I'm going to set this one zip code in Albuquerque to use a $50 travel fee rather than $25. And then I can click back into my test order here and go to the cart and delete everything from the cart and reset the order and begin to place another test order. Now the reason we have to start a new test order rather than simply refreshing the screen on our previous one is because financial settings for orders are archived, meaning that once an order is started, the financial settings that it was started under are going to stay in place. And the idea here is you don't want to change historical information. So for example, if you updated your tax rate, you wouldn't want the updated new tax rate to apply to orders that had already been placed, as that would really mess up your accounting and reporting. So we had to delete everything from the cart and reset this order so that we could get the new travel fee rules applied to the order. And we can see that the travel fee is working properly. Alright, so that covers travel fee by zip code. The other option is travel fee by mile. And to set up travel fee by mile, we're going to start by going to Admin, Rules, General Rule Sets. And I'm going to click back into Browse mode because we're not going to be making mass edits here. Let's click into Adjustments. And if we scroll down, we can see all the different adjustments the system makes for your orders. Now before we go any further, please keep in mind that rule sets, such as availability rule sets, general rule sets, and price rule sets, along with things like schedule profiles, are the plumbing that manage your financials, and they can get a bit technical, so I always advise if you're going to do anything outside of the scope of this video with any of those areas, it's a good idea to check in with the tech support department. Even if you've been using the system forever and you're pretty sure you know how it works, it doesn't hurt to put everything in place the way you think it should be, and check in with the tech support department after you've done so, just as a safety check. Another thing to keep in mind is that it does matter what order these rules are placed in. So make sure you're following the instructions of this video as far as where you're placing these different rules. So travel fee by mile gives you a lot of flexibility, so we'll go through a few different setup options. So anytime we want the first X number of miles to be free, we have to start by replacing apply travel fees with travel fee by distance range. So again, we're making the first 5 miles free, and we need to put a 0 under minimum distance here, and maximum distance is going to be 5. By the way, the unit that this part of the system uses is always miles, so you don't have to put miles after any of these numbers. You just put in the number itself. And we're going to put 0 for the fee, and whatever language is in this description field is what's going to show up on the payment screen. So I'm going to go ahead and rephrase this a bit. So that covers the first 5 miles. Let's go ahead and decide what we're going to do for everything after that. I'm going to add more. I'm going to move it underneath the travel fee by distance range entry. And that is very important, by the way. It does need to be in exactly this spot. And I'm going to go ahead and apply travel fee over distance. So we need to put the same value here under minimum distance for travel fee over distance that we put in the maximum distance field under the travel fee by distance range rule. So let's say we're going to do $10 plus $2 per mile for any distance over 5 miles. Now, one thing to keep in mind about the rate per mile is that the system is going to do this as a one-way calculation. In other words, it's only going to count the distance between your warehouse and the delivery address. If you want to charge a certain rate per mile for both the delivery and the pickup, you'll need to double the amount that you put in this rate per mile field. So for example, if you have an order that's 5 miles away from your warehouse, and you'd like to charge $2 per mile for the trip from the warehouse to the delivery address, and then another $2 per mile for the trip from the delivery address back to the warehouse, then you would want to enter 4 into this field. So once again, this description field is what's going to show up on the payment screen for the order if their delivery address is within the range of this rule. So if the delivery address is 0 to 5 miles away from your warehouse, it's going to display this description field text. And if it's between 5 miles and our maximum range, it's going to display this description field text. And we'll have an opportunity to specify what our maximum distance range is in just a few moments here. So there's one last thing to do here before we submit our changes. We need to add one more, and once again we need to put it underneath the last rule that we were working on, and that placement is important. And let's click into here and choose travel fee by distance error. Now this travel fee by distance error rule is important because it will allow you to override a travel fee in the back end if you so choose. So this is looking good. Let's go ahead and submit our changes. And then we need to do 2 more quick things before we place a test order. So let's click into Admin Rules Availability Rule Sets, and let's click into Universal Availability. Let's go ahead and add more. And we're going to allow travel fee by distance, and we can go ahead and put in our maximum allowed distance here. Once again, this field already assumes you're talking in miles, so just put the number of miles in there. Then we can go ahead and submit. And one last thing to make the travel fee by mile work, we need to go into Admin, Order Config, Miscellaneous Order Settings, and go to Travel Fee by Distance, check that box, and as always, we need to make sure to save our changes. So then we can go back into the front end and place another test order. Once again, it's important to make sure you're placing a new order so that your new travel fee rules will apply. And when we get to the payment screen, we can see that the travel fee is working correctly. Now we can also copy this order number right here, click back into the back end, and then we can go into the CRM and search for that order number, and then click into the order, and we can go to the customer info page and scroll down to override travel fee. So we can either write yes in here if we want to just entirely override the entire fee, or we can put the different amount that we want to charge the customer instead of what the system normally would. And then when we click on update, it takes us back to the payment screen where we can see our update reflected here. All right, we're almost ready to wrap this tutorial, but first let's take a look at another way that we can set up travel fee by mile, and we're going to do that under Admin, Rules, General Rule Sets, and we'll click back into Adjustments. So we can also use travel fee by distance range in multiple different places in here to apply a different travel fee for different ranges. So just like before, we need to make sure that the minimum distance value in here is the same as the maximum distance value in the travel fee by distance range rule above this. So let's say 5 to 25 miles is going to run our customers $50. And let's go ahead and add another one. And once again, we're going to move it up underneath the previous rule. Going to do another travel fee by distance range here. And remember, our maximum distance that we set under universal availability was 50 miles. So we're going to say 25 to 50 miles is going to run $100. Then we can go ahead and submit our changes. Then let's go ahead and open up a new browser tab and start to create another test order. And I'm going to go ahead and place this order through the back end, as it'll be a little bit faster. Okay, we can see that travel fee is working correctly. So then we can click back into customer info, and we can change this address to be something that's going to be between 25 and 50 miles, so we can test that rule. Sweet, we can see it's working there too. So that about does it for this tutorial. I hope this was helpful. As always, anytime you're working in the system and you have questions, the knowledge base is your friend. And you can also access the knowledge base by clicking on this little floating help icon right here. And of course, the tech support department is always happy to help as well, and you can reach them at 505-435-9731, extension 102, or support@eventrentalsystems.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.